Hey everyone, I'm Jay and I do stuff. I've talked about Pokemon a lot on this channel, probably more than I really should. I'm turning into a PokeTuber, aren't I? But above all else, when it comes to Pokemon, I always gravitate towards one of them. That being Porygon. Porygon is my all-time favorite Pokemon ever, as I've stated before. However, I'd like to shine some light on some various reasons why I'm particularly obsessed with this one base form Mon. Now, Porygon wasn't always my favorite Pokemon. Shocker, I know. I've had my share of different favorites during my earlier years. It was around 2012 when I got back into Pokemon. It was at that time when I was more interested in the competitive scene. I used to use just a copy of Red's team as my forte for battle. However, I had an extra team in the back made up of Pokemon I liked during that time. My ace being Porygon. Not Porygon 2, not Porygon Z, just regular Porygon. This team was more of a joke team I had just for fun. But over time though, I started to get more and more attached to the specific team. I was also told that this joke team I had was actually better than my red team. So I decided to further embrace it. I started to use this team in playthroughs starting with X and Y. It took a while before I could actually get Porygon and the rest of my Mons into the game itself, but I suppose it was worth it. Thanks for delaying Pokebank, TBC. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I was also kind of inspired by Ash from the anime to use an unevolved Pokemon as my ace. But hey, at least Porygon's a bit more useful than Pikachu is. On to the reasons I actually like Porygon, what first caught my eye was how odd it was. You see, near the end of the Kanto Pokedex is where a lot of iconic Pokemon are placed. I mean, you have Lapras, Ditto, and then Eevee and its evolutions. But before we get to the fossil Pokemon, there's this one Pokemon that kinda looks like a blocky bird. Very odd design, but in a very adorable way. What really made Porygon odd is how scarce it was in merchandise, advertising, and pretty much anything Pokemon. Turns out that was for a big reason. Not necessarily a good reason in my opinion, but a reason nonetheless. I'm sure most Pokemon fans know of the Electric Soldier Porygon episode of the anime fiasco. Basically, it was an episode focused on Porygon. However, at one point Pikachu uses its trademark Thunderbolt attack on some missiles which exploded into a series of flashing red and blue lights, making a lot of children in Japan very sick and even hospitalized. This event caused the Pokemon anime to take a big hiatus and almost got cancelled. However, instead of Pikachu taking responsibility for the incident, they put the blame on Porygon instead, causing the poor Pokemon to be banned from the anime entirely, as well as advertising and merchandise for the most part. Now, with this, I actually sympathize with Porygon. You see, back in my high school years, I was blamed and outcast for something I didn't even do. I don't feel comfortable going into full detail, but know that I never had any bad intentions or anything. Someone told lies about me to the principal and thus made me miss out on probably some of the best years of my life. I'm still scarred by the whole thing to this day. But because of what we've been through, I feel that gave me more of a personal connection with Porygon. That's a big reason why Porygon means so much to me. Seeing people be so ignorant as to ridicule Porygon, calling it the seizure Pokemon, and how it shouldn't be more recognized and even justifying its ban really makes me sad.
Instead of having the face of their company be tarnished in shame, they diverted everything onto another Pokemon, who frankly doesn't have much to offer to the series as Pikachu. In all honesty, this was a smart move on their part.
But on to more happier reasons why I love Porygon. Looking at its design, as I said before, it looks like a blocky bird. I'm kind of a fan of the weirder and more unorthodox Pokemon designs. Its bright pink and cyan colors give it a distinct and fun feel. Not to mention what Porygon's supposed to be. Porygon is essentially a sentient computer program made out of polygons. In that sense, Porygon is practically the only Pokemon that could possibly become real, with realistic AR and AI technology we have in today's world. Speaking of polygons, one of the reasons I favor Porygon over its evolution is because Porygon is actually made of distinct polygons with all its edges. I feel that this aspect is lost in Porygon 2 and Porygon Z. Also, its in-game cry is adorable. It makes this chirpy little tune. Now in terms of gameplay, I always have Porygon on my team in some shape or another. It's my signature Pokemon. The kind of Pokemon that makes you go, oh hey, that's Jay's team. People tend to rag on Porygon for being very weak and having bad stats.
Man, look at those stats, and this is a standalone Pokemon too.
Well, Porygon most likely wasn't created for battling. Its total base stat is 395, which is pretty low, and its Gen 1 learn set is hardly impressive.
It's not really anything special on its own, some lackluster stats.
So how good was Porygon actually? Well, Porygon sucked.
While they may not look like much on the surface, I would beg to differ. In my experience, with the right abilities, items, and setup, Porygon can be quite a threat and on par with its evolutions in my opinion. Sure, without its items and abilities, Porygon kinda has a hard time keeping up with the competition, but isn't that what abilities and items are for though? To help Pokemon become stronger? I mean, anyone can use the strongest mons available to win, but it takes effort and character to stand up for the underdogs, and also some creative stratagem to help them succeed. For abilities, Porygon gets Trace, Download, and Analytic. My favorite being Trace because it allows Porygon to use almost any of the opponent's abilities against them. It also makes Porygon a bit unpredictable as well, literally. In doubles, the ability Porygon copies is random, but another reason I love using Porygon is its moveset. Porygon has a lot of varied moves, ranging from normal type moves, psychic type moves to counter those pesky fighting types, electric type moves, and more. It's even one of the few Pokemon that gets access to a reliable recovery. But one of my favorite moves to use is Conversion. Conversion is a move exclusive to Porygon that allows it to change its type. This is very helpful sometimes and can even change the tide of battle. I used Conversion on Porygon before it was cool. Being a Gen 1 Pokemon, I can use Porygon in any of the generations of games. Or at least up to this point. It's one of the perks of being the first. Also, it appears that the Porygon line is starting to make a resurgence in terms of merchandising. So maybe now Porygon will get even more recognition that it deserves. So now, I hope you all have a better understanding of why I talk so much about Porygon. I love everything about it, and I want to give it more exposure in my content. Is there any Pokemon that you always take with you that you can never be without? Or am I just an obsessed psycho? I kinda hope not. I don't want to fall into that stigma of being a Porygon trainer who is this creepy, crazed scientist. But really, feel free to drop a comment telling me about your favorite Pokemon. Any attention or feedback I can get is much appreciated with YouTube's horrible algorithm. But whether Porygon is in Sword and Shield or I have to play through my own Pokemon Pink game, I'll see you next time.